Hey everybody, Pitfighter here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be playing No Man's Sky, and I'd like to go over how to make your first Corvette for free. Now if you take a look at the inventory here, you can see I've farmed a lot of parts for this new Corvette. And every one of these parts I got without spending a dime. So I'm going to show you guys how to get started, and we'll take it from there. We want to jump in our starship and look for a planet that has salvageable scrap on it. Now, you might have to fire up your hyperdrive and do some star hopping to find one of these planets, but once you do, trust me, it'll be well worth the effort. Now, the salvageable scrap can only be found using the analyzing visor. You can't just scan for it through your ship, so you're going to have to land, which you're going to want to make sure you have enough materials on you, at least in your exosuit or in your starship, to constantly charge up your landing gear and your terrain manipulator. This is going to be one of those situations where you're going to have to put the time in and do a little bit more farming in the beginning. But as you can see with the standard scan, you don't see it, but if you use your analyzing visor, you're going to look for those yellow ones there that say salvageable container. So we're going to head over there, equip our terrain manipulator here, and we're going to look for that right there. See that little piece of metal sticking out of the ground? Now you want the container that's floating in the middle of that, so you're going to have to damage the parts around it. You could use your bolt caster to do some damage, but you're wasting ammunition, so I would definitely recommend switching to your mining laser, and that does just the same. As you can see here, we've got some parts and some salvageable scrap. There we go. Some free parts for your ship, and that, look at that, 200,000. The amount of money you could make just doing this alone is kind of insane. Let's hop over to the next one and see what we get with that. Now, don't forget to make sure that you have your inventory on your ship completely cleared out, and as much inventory in your exosuit as you possibly can when you're going out to do this, because you're going to fill up not only on ship parts but all that other salvageable scrap, and you want to try to make money while you're doing this. Now, as you can see in this next one, once again, the top of the piece of metal was sticking out of the ground, and it makes it really easy to find. Now, sometimes these things are buried pretty deep in the ground, and you're going to have to kind of look through, dig tunnels, get really down in there to kind of find and locate where these parts are. So make sure you keep your terrain manipulator, charged up. Make sure you have your mining beam charged up. And I'd say the most costly part of this is probably this part right here, getting in and out and launching with your ship. Your ship thrusters are going to go through fuel non-stop for the first few hours of doing this, but I can promise you, after a few hours of doing this, you will no longer have to use that fuel anymore to use launch thrusters. There is another way to do this, and it's way more efficient. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that in this next part. So what we're going to do is, after a few hours of farming, we're going to have the inventory there pretty full. We're going to access create new Corvette. Now it's grayed out for me, but for you it'll actually say new Corvette. I had made one, broke it down, and for this video I am starting fresh once again. So you're going to create new Corvette, and in the top right you're going to see the warning signs. Those are the things that you have to place down for the essential parts to make the Corvette. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make what you essentially need in a really basic version of the build with just the parts that we've picked up. We're going to do one launch thruster, and then it asks for a hub. Now there are two kinds. There's one that gives you +1, that's one box, or there's two boxes and gives you +3 cargo slots. So we're going to go with the bigger one, and then it's going to ask us for the next piece that we need, which is the cockpit. So we're going to snap on whatever cockpit we have. It doesn't matter. We're just going to make a really basic build here so we can get out there and do something where we don't have to keep landing and getting back up and landing it and burning through all that launch thruster stuff. So now when it comes to these reactors, I chose the reactor that was this one. And it was because I'm not really worried about hyperdrive. I just really want my pulse engine to get me where I need to go, and I want it to be efficient. So that's the one I chose. As for the engines, you can see they all have different stats. I'm going to go for a pretty basic, across the middle board. All the stats seem pretty even. we're going to go with that. We're going to slap 2 of these guys on. Now, aesthetically looking at it, you might want to get, obsessive and start moving parts around. Like, I moved this a little bit further, and I noticed, it's probably going to be in my peripheral, so I'm just going to leave it there. I try not to get too into that when making the first starter ship. Keep it bare bones and basic. Get yourself back out there and start collecting parts. Slap a ramp on there so you can get on and off, and then I think all you really need after that is a weapon. This is the weapon you're going to want to pick. Choose the torpedo launcher because it directly buffs the weapon that we're going to use to farm the materials that we need. You could dress it up with a bunch of other stuff, but again, now, just in case we get a warning or we get in a fight, I am going to buff my shields with one of these 3 shields. They all do the same thing, so just pick the one that looks good to you, and you're good to go. That's your basic build. You have one of everything you need. We're going to complete this. And now we're going to check our mods. Now, each part you put on there is technically a mod on a ship. These can take the same mods that your other ships could take, but each part also counts as a mod. As you can see here, all the parts, they line up with your other mods. They sync with them, and that's the most important part. Like here, we're going to put the engines right next to the pulse thruster. They all link up. So make sure they're all lined up where they're getting the best bonuses they can, because that is going to help you in the long run. All right, so we're going to jump back in this thing and we're going to show you guys the next step, and this is where things get crazy. You saw the amount of mods that I had, and you're probably wondering, well, that must have taken you hundreds of hours to get that the way you were doing it. No, I only did that enough to be able to build this. Now we're going to go out and do it this way, and we're going to switch to our weapon. There we go. That's the one we want. That's the one that the rocket launcher is buffing. You can see here, the ballista is getting buffed by the torpedo launcher. So you want those 2 next to each other. That torpedo launcher is going to make this go much faster. So what we're going to do now, instead of landing our ship, we're just going to get out. Leave it floating, and we're going to use our scanner, just like we did before. We're going to look for that yellow icon, and select it. We're going to tag it. And now we're going to get back in. Now, we didn't have to land the vehicle. All we had to do was get out, walk around. Look at that. Landing thrusters, 100%. So we're not using fuel. We're not using elements. We're using nothing to have to do this. We just stay in the air the whole time. And now we have our weapons selected. We're going to pause, shoot the ground. And you can see, this is exactly what I was talking about. You can't really see the thing sticking out through the ground. It's buried just enough, but these shots can get through and break the parts we need. So now we're going to check our inventory. This time, we're looking at our ship inventory, and that's what's picking up the parts now. It's not going to go in your exosuit. So as you're cruising around doing this, you're going to fill up your ship inventory most likely way faster than you're going to fill up your exosuit. Anybody that's been playing probably has put some work into their exosuit, and even newcomers that come back, they're going to build this basic Corvette, and their Corvette inventory is going to be much smaller than their exosuit. So you're going to want to take, as you're farming this, empty your ship, put it in your exosuit, come back, and now you're going to have a full exosuit full of parts that you can just boom, 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 drop in there, and what you're left with is all the salvageable scrap that you can now sell. And look at the prices on these things. Man, that's a lot of money. And now you guys have the ability to get in here, modify and customize your own ship. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is Pip. I'm out.